Ever feel like you're just going through the motions, even when everything seems fine? That deep, unsettling feeling that nothing truly matters? You might be experiencing existential burnout, a silent epidemic far more profound than just feeling tired. We're going to explore what causes this pervasive sense of meaninglessness and, more importantly, how to reclaim your sense of purpose. Let's start by understanding what existential burnout actually is. Unlike regular burnout, which stems from overwork and exhaustion, existential burnout is a crisis of meaning. You might have a good job, supportive relationships, financial stability, all the things society tells us we should want, yet you feel hollow inside. It's the sensation of waking up each day, wondering what the point of it all is. You're functioning, but you're not truly living. Philosopher Viktor Frankl, who survived the Holocaust and wrote Man's Search for Meaning, observed that humans can endure almost any hardship if they have a reason to do so. But when that sense of purpose evaporates, even comfortable circumstances can feel unbearable. This is existential burnout, the exhaustion that comes not from doing too much, but from doing things that feel devoid of significance. So what causes this profound disconnection from meaning? There are several key factors at play in our modern world. First, there's the relentless optimization culture we live in. We're constantly told to maximize productivity, optimize our routines, hack our biology, and achieve peak performance. Life becomes a series of metrics to improve rather than experiences to savor. When everything is quantified and gamified, we lose touch with intrinsic motivation. We forget why we started doing things in the first place. The joy gets stripped away, leaving only the pursuit of arbitrary goals. Second, there's what sociologists call the paradox of choice. We have more options than ever before in human history. What to study, where to live, what career to pursue, who to date, what to believe. This freedom, while valuable, creates a crushing weight of responsibility. Every choice feels like it closes off infinite other possibilities. We become paralyzed, questioning whether we've made the right decisions, whether there's a better path we're missing. This constant second-guessing erodes our sense of groundedness. Third, many of us have become disconnected from traditional sources of meaning. Religious and spiritual frameworks, tight-knit communities, cultural rituals, these used to provide ready-made answers to life's big questions. Today, we're more secular, more individualistic, more mobile. We've gained autonomy, but lost the scaffolding that once supported our sense of purpose. We're left to construct meaning entirely on our own, which is both liberating and terrifying. Fourth, there's the constant comparison enabled by social media. We're bombarded with curated highlights of other people's lives, creating the illusion that everyone else has figured it out. This breeds a toxic mix of inadequacy and imposter syndrome. Even our genuine achievements feel hollow because there's always someone doing more, being more, having more. The goalposts of enough keep moving further away. And finally, there's the sheer pace of modern life. We're always connected, always available, always consuming information. There's no space for reflection, for boredom, for simply being. Without these pauses, we can't process our experiences or integrate them into a coherent narrative. Our lives become a blur of activity without cohesion or meaning. Now let's talk about what existential burnout actually feels like, because recognizing it is the first step toward addressing it. You might experience a pervasive sense of numbness. Not sadness exactly, but a flatness, an emotional blunting. Things that used to excite you feel bland. Achievements that should bring satisfaction feel empty. You're going through the motions but feeling nothing. There's often a sense of disconnection, like you're watching your life from the outside rather than living it. Psychologists call this depersonalization. You might feel like an actor playing a role rather than an authentic person making genuine choices. You may find yourself asking why constantly. Why am I doing this job? Why am I in this relationship? Why does any of this matter? These aren't idle philosophical questions. They're urgent, pressing concerns that you can't shake. There's frequently a loss of future orientation. You can't envision where you're going or why you'd want to get there. Plans feel arbitrary. Goals feel meaningless. The future seems like just more of the same empty present stretching endlessly ahead. And paradoxically, you might achieve things and feel nothing. You get the promotion, buy the house, reach the milestone, and instead of satisfaction, you just feel the question, is this it? Is this all there is? If this resonates with you, know that you're not alone, and, more importantly, there are pathways out of this existential emptiness. Let me share some evidence-based approaches that can help. The first crucial step is to create space for genuine reflection. This might sound simple, but in our overstimulated world, it's revolutionary. Set aside time with no agenda, no productivity goal, no phone, no input, just you and your thoughts. This might feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is important. It's where the real work happens. Journal without censoring yourself. Ask yourself hard questions. What do I actually value, not what I think I should value? What moments in my life have felt genuinely meaningful? What activities make me lose track of time? You're mining for clues to your authentic self beneath the layers of social conditioning. Second, reconnect with your body. Existential burnout often lives in our heads. We're overthinking, overanalyzing, trapped in loops of rumination. Physical movement can break these patterns. It doesn't have to be intense exercise. Walking, dancing, yoga, gardening, anything that brings you back into embodied experience. There's wisdom in the body that the anxious mind can't access. Third, pursue what philosophers call intrinsic goods, activities that are valuable in themselves, not because they lead to something else. This might be creating art, playing music, spending time in nature, having deep conversations, helping others. These activities don't need to be productive or lead anywhere. Their value is in the doing, not in any outcome they produce. Fourth, build genuine connections. Not networking, not transactional relationships, but real intimacy with people who know you and accept you. Share your existential struggles with trusted friends. You'll likely find they've felt similarly. There's profound relief in discovering you're not alone in your questioning. Community doesn't solve the existential questions, but it makes them more bearable. Fifth, consider engaging with existential philosophy and psychology. Thinkers like Frankl, Camus, Yalom, and many others have wrestled with these questions for centuries. Their insights can provide frameworks for understanding your experience. Reading philosophy isn't about finding answers handed to you. It's about finding companionship in the questioning. Sixth, practice what psychologists call meaning-making. This involves constructing coherent narratives from your experiences, not fake positivity or forced gratitude, but genuine integration. How has struggle shaped you? What have you learned from pain? What patterns do you see in your life? When you can tell yourself a story that makes sense of your experiences, even difficult ones gain significance. Seventh, embrace the concept of committed action even in uncertainty. One of the paradoxes of existential burnout is that we wait to feel meaning before we act, but often meaning emerges through action. Choose something that aligns with your values, even if you're not sure, and commit to it fully for a defined period. Meaning often follows engagement rather than preceding it. Eighth, reduce comparison and cultivate self-compassion. This is easier said than done, but it's essential. Your life doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. Your pace doesn't need to match anyone else's to be valid. Treat yourself with the kindness you'd offer a struggling friend. Now, I want to address something important. Sometimes existential burnout can overlap with clinical depression or other mental health conditions. If you're experiencing persistent hopelessness, thoughts of self-harm, inability to function in daily life, please reach out to a mental health professional. There's no shame in seeking help. Sometimes we need support to navigate these deep questions. Here's something that might surprise you. Existential burnout, while painful, can be a catalyst for profound growth. It's often a sign that you've outgrown old patterns, old definitions of success, old versions of yourself. The emptiness you feel isn't a flaw, it's a clearing. Something authentic is trying to emerge, but first the inauthentic has to fall away. This is uncomfortable, but it's not pathological, it's transformation. Think of it this way. A caterpillar dissolving in its chrysalis probably doesn't feel like it's becoming a butterfly. It probably feels like it's dying. The old form has to completely break down before the new form can emerge. You might be in that in-between space right now. It's disorienting, but it's also sacred. The existentialists had a concept called radical freedom, the idea that we're not just free to make choices, but we're condemned to be free. We have to choose. We have to create meaning. There's no escaping this responsibility. At first, this sounds terrifying, but there's also liberation in it. If meaning isn't handed down from on high, if it's not predetermined, then you get to participate in creating it. Your life can be an act of authorship rather than passive acceptance. This doesn't mean you have to figure out your grand purpose or find your one true calling. Those frameworks can actually increase pressure and anxiety. Instead, think of meaning as something you cultivate day by day through your choices, your attention, your relationships, your values in action. Meaning is a practice, not a destination. Let me leave you with a few final thoughts. First, it's okay to not have it all figured out. The uncertainty is part of being human. Second, small, meaningful actions compound over time into a meaningful life. You don't need a dramatic transformation. You need consistent alignment with what matters to you. Third, your questions and doubts aren't obstacles to meaning. They're evidence that you're thinking deeply about how you want to live. That's valuable. Existential burnout is painful, but it's also an invitation. An invitation to examine your life honestly, to shed what no longer serves you, to discover or rediscover what genuinely matters. Not what you've been told should matter, but what actually resonates with your deepest self. The path out of existential burnout isn't about finding the perfect answer or discovering your ultimate purpose. It's about learning to live with the questions, to find meaning in the search itself, to engage fully with life, even in the face of uncertainty. It's about showing up, being present, connecting authentically, acting from your values, and trusting that meaning emerges from this engagement. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're human, confronting the most human of all challenges, creating a life worth living in a universe that doesn't come with an instruction manual. That takes courage. And if you're feeling the weight of these questions, it means you're brave enough to face them rather than numbing out or distracting yourself endlessly. So start small. Start today. What's one tiny thing you can do that aligns with what you value? What's one moment you can be fully present for? What's one person you can connect with authentically? Meaning is built from these moments, one after another, until one day you look back and realize your life feels different. Not perfect, not without struggle, but yours, authentic, meaningful. Thank you for engaging with these ideas. I hope this exploration has offered you some clarity, some comfort, and some practical pathways forward. Remember, you're not alone in this struggle, and the very fact that you're seeking understanding is a powerful first step toward reclaiming your sense of purpose. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.